Hey guys, what's up? It's Savannah. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another true crime video here. I know the background is different. We are currently in the only room right now that doesn't sound like it's being bulldozed because Christmas trees are going up today. So this is not going to be the new setup, but this is what we are working with today. Before we jump into today's case, I want to thank our two sponsors. We have HelloFresh and BetterHelp. So if y'all have never heard about HelloFresh, HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. They offer convenient delivery right to your doorstep for easy home cooking with your family or just by yourself. The recipes are easy to follow and quick to make with simple steps and pictures to guide you along the way. HelloFresh offers so many delicious options every week to help you break out of your recipe rut and to try new things. HelloFresh also delivers pre-proportioned ingredients so you're not overbuying, which is always a burden on the planet and your wallet. HelloFresh is committed to making fresh, delicious food available now more than ever and has taken extra steps to keep its employees and customers safe. HelloFresh has been a lifesaver for me when it comes to time management. I'm someone who loves nourishing my body with proper nutrients, but with a crazy busy schedule, it isn't always the easiest to map out, which is why I'm very thankful that HelloFresh takes care of that for me. So if you guys want to try out HelloFresh, you can do so by going to hellofresh.com/killer90, and by using the code killer90, you will get $90 off, including free shipping. Again, that is just hellofresh.com/killer90, and use code killer90 to get $90 off, including free shipping. So if you are new here, you are no stranger to me talking to you about BetterHelp. I've mentioned them a lot in the past, and if you have never heard of BetterHelp, BetterHelp is an online counseling service that provides you with professional counseling in the comfort of your own home. Once you sign up with BetterHelp, you will be matched with a professional counselor who is deemed to best fit your needs. However, if at any time you want to switch out this counselor for any reason, you will be able to do so at no additional charge. BetterHelp has counselors that specialize in anxiety, depression, grief, LGBTQ+ matters, relationships, family trauma, and more. Once you're connected with your counselor, you will be able to set up dedicated phone and video sessions with them, as well as have access to text them when you need it. BetterHelp is convenient, professional, and affordable. And if you guys want to try it out today, all you have to do is go to betterhelp.com/instinct. Again, that is just betterhelp.com/instinct, and you will get 10% off your first month using BetterHelp. So thank you to our sponsors for sponsoring today's video. Now let's move on to the rest of the case. So as you guys can tell by the title, today we are talking about one of the craziest cases that I have ever heard of, and it's a case that I was so surprised to hear happened literally just under a year ago. So this case is very new. We can't officially declare it solved yet because the trial has not begun. However, I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say about it, and I'm interested to hear who it reminds you of. I'm going to let you know my opinion at the end of it, but I just want you guys to keep that in mind as we continue. So as you guys can tell by the title of today's video, today we are talking about the heartbreaking and twisted case of the Todt family. Today we are talking about what happened that led to 42-year-old Megan Todt, as well as her 3 children, 13-year-old Alec, 11-year-old Tyler, and 4-year-old Zoe, to be brutally murdered in late 2019. So let's jump right on into it. So to understand what happened to this family and just how we got here in general, I think it's really important to look at the family dynamic and who this family portrayed themselves to be. So like I said, we have Megan Todt, who is the mother of Alec, Tyler, and Zoe, as well as the wife to Anthony Todt. 44-year-old Anthony Todt ran a physical therapy business in Colchester, Connecticut. However, the family moved from Colchester to Celebration, Florida, due to Megan's health condition. Now, Megan had multiple illnesses, including Lyme disease and depression, which caused her to need a lot of care. Now, a direct quote from Anthony regarding Megan's illnesses was, and I'm going to look over here to get it right, quote, "I was determined she was going to get better, and she was, though the good days were amazing, but the bad days were even more depressing for her." Now, regardless of Megan's condition, she did not let that get in the way of her being an amazing mother. Megan was described as the mother of all mothers. She is described as kind-hearted and having a soft voice, and was described by friends as, quote, "You could see the light and kindness from this woman," end quote. Megan was always said to be the mom to have homemade jam or a homeopathic remedy to share. Megan and her kids were described as being musically infused. They all loved to play the piano and sing together. They also had a music teacher that would visit them every Monday and Thursday to play music with the kids, and the music teacher has a direct quote that said, quote, "Little Zoe eagerly waited for my arrival every Monday and Thursday. She would be at the door with Megan as she opened the door for me. I was greeted by the sweetest smile and giggle. Zoe and my daughter became friends, and they were little twinsies in many ways." Now, Alec, the 13-year-old son, was described as the more serious older brother, and Tyler, the middle child, was described as the more mischievous one. He was always the one getting into trouble. However, because Tyler and Alec were so close in age, that made them really close as brothers. And when the two of them got together, they were always said to get into some sort of little mischievous trouble. Nothing crazy, but you know, your typical kid trouble. So I want to talk about something that is very prominent in this case, and that is Anthony's childhood. And reminder, Anthony is the husband and the father in this family unit, and Anthony had an extremely rough childhood. When Anthony was only 4 years old, he actually witnessed his mother's attempted murder. And how this happened was on one night in 1981, Anthony heard his mother screaming in the middle of the night after she had been shot. But miraculously, his mother, Loretta, survived. And it was later unraveled that Robert, who was Anthony's father, who also was a school teacher at the time, not only was Robert married to Anthony's mother, Loretta, he also had a fiance that he was planning on getting married to, as well as a separate girlfriend. So he had the wife, the fiance, and the girlfriend. And it was actually later revealed that Robert had hired a 19-year-old student that attended the school that he worked at to be the one to shoot Loretta. This 19-year-old student said that Robert gave him a key to the house, told him the night that he was not going to be there. So Robert had paid this student to break into his home and murder Loretta, his wife. Now, Loretta miraculously survived this. She was shot and the bullet did hit her. However, she did survive the attack, and after the attack was over, even though Robert claimed that he was not at the house that night and still to this day claims his innocence, both Loretta and Anthony state that they remember two men being in the house that night. After this happened, Loretta obviously divorced Robert. She got remarried and raised her two children, Anthony as well as her daughter, in Connecticut. Now, as you can imagine, going through something like this would obviously impact you very deeply. And even though Anthony was only 4 years old, that is one of the most traumatic experiences that you could ever experience as a child. Now, despite his childhood, the people who knew him as an adult describe Anthony as being a very generous man who always went above and beyond. He was the dad coaching the soccer games and running the physical therapy practice. And something that people also described Anthony as being very generous. He was always the type of guy to lend money. He was always very generous when it came to his money and donating. But here's where the catch is on that, is because he would always say he was going to donate and tell people he was donating this insane amount of money. However, he would actually never follow through with those donations. So now that you understand the family dynamic a little bit better, we are going to jump to January 13th, 2019. Now, at this point, it had been several weeks since any of the Todt family members had heard from their family, meaning Anthony, Megan, Alec, Tyler, Zoe, any of those. No one had heard from any of them, and their family was reaching out to them. They were calling them, they were texting them. However, they were getting no response. So after a couple weeks, obviously their family started to get a little bit worried about them. So after a couple weeks of no responding, their extended family members reached out to the police department in Celebration, Florida, and asked for them to do a welfare check on the family. Now, the first welfare check had been done on December 29th, 2019. However, the officers who did this check said that they went to the family home in Celebration and everything seemed fine, and so they ended up clearing it, even though it was never confirmed whether or not the officers spoke to anyone in the family. Then on January 10th, 2019, there was another welfare check done on the family. The officer who did this check said that he knocked on the door several times, however, no one answered. He then said he checked the mailbox and found letters that dated back to January 6th. The officer said he spoke to a neighbor of the family who said that they had texted Megan on January 6th regarding an eviction notice that was on their front door. And this neighbor said that they did end up getting a response from Megan, but it was a short and simple, okay, thanks, and that was it. So the eviction notice was put on the Todt family door, not the neighbor's door. The eviction notice was on the Todt family door, and the neighbor was texting Megan to tell them about it, to make sure that they had received it. Then just a day or two after the second welfare check, the Todt's landlord actually called the authorities because they said that they saw on social media that the Todt family hadn't been seen since Thanksgiving. And remind you, this is January now. The landlord said that they were concerned for the family as well as their property, and that they tried to get in touch with the family multiple times, however, were receiving no response. And the landlord said that at first she just assumed that it was because they owed rent and they didn't want to pay it. But when they learned that no one else had heard from them either, that is when the worry set in. So now we move to January 13th, 2020. And at this point, authorities went back to the Todt home, this time with an arrest warrant for Anthony because of the finances and because he was not paying. When authorities arrived to the home, they said that they announced their presence several times. However, the front door was unlocked, so they ended up entering the home. And when they did, they started walking around the two-story home, and then they heard Anthony start walking down the stairs from the second story. Now, when authorities saw Anthony, they said that they asked him where Megan and his children were, and that is when he said that Megan was upstairs sleeping and that she wasn't supposed to be woken up, meaning that the police couldn't go upstairs to wake her up. However, authorities didn't buy that and didn't agree and just didn't listen to him. So they walked up the stairs, and when they did, they opened the door to the master bedroom. And that is when they saw the decomposing bodies of Megan, Alec, Tyler, and Zoe. Megan was found laying on the bed, and Zoe was found wrapped in blankets at Megan's feet. And Alec and Tyler were wrapped in blankets on a mattress on the floor. Based off of the autopsy report, all of the family was drugged with lethal amounts of Benadryl. And along with the Benadryl, Alec and Tyler were both stabbed. Megan was also stabbed twice in the upper abdomen. And one thing authorities noticed when they discovered the bodies was the fact that they could tell that these bodies had been decomposing for a long time. They had been there for a long time, and they were able to figure this out based off of the coloration of the bodies. Some parts of their bodies had this greenish, brownish coloring to them. They had a red discoloration in their face, and their feet were even mummified at this point. Now, authorities immediately arrested Anthony on the scene, and once he was taken into custody, Anthony actually told the authorities that he himself had ingested a lethal amount of Benadryl, which was his own attempt of committing suicide. So he was taken to the hospital by the authorities, but ultimately he was fine. The amount of Benadryl that he took was nothing that harmed him in any way. So after they took him to the hospital, authorities then took him back to the police station. In just several days after the bodies were discovered, Anthony ended up confessing to the murder of his entire family. He was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, as well as a charge for animal cruelty, because the family dog was also found dead in the home as well. So now let's talk about a letter. While awaiting for trial, Anthony wrote a 27-page letter to his father, who, by the way, has been released from prison ever since the attempted murder attack on Anthony's mother. Anthony sent a letter to his father, Robert. It was a 27-page letter and was sent to his father in June of this year. In this letter, Anthony claims that he is 100% innocent and that Megan was the one who murdered their children before she killed herself. On the day of the murders, Anthony said it started out as a phenomenal day. It was the first time Megan had woke up without being in any pain for months, and they spent time together as a family. Anthony said later in the day, he went to a condo that him and his wife owned to do some maintenance work around it, as well as to pick up a Mickey Mouse necklace that his daughter had been asking for. Anthony said that he planned on staying the night at the condo, however, decided to go back home once he realized that that he forgot his tools. And once he got home, he said that he saw his two sons, Alec and Tyler, playing basketball in the yard and that he joined them for a game. He said he then sent Alec and Tyler inside once it got dark out, and Anthony said the boys told him that Megan was preparing dessert and asked him if he was going to have any, to which Anthony said no, because he was trying to lose weight. After going home, Anthony said he ended up going back to the condo and sat in the front seat of his car and took what he intended to be a small nap. However, he accidentally overslept and didn't end up getting home until about 4 or 4:30 in the morning. Once he got back to the family home, Anthony said he walked in and found remnants of a pie, which he said, quote, looked very good as all of my wife's desserts were, but this one smelt horrible. Turns out it was a Benadryl pudding pie. Anthony said once he made this discovery, he found Megan standing at the top of the staircase and she confessed to murdering their children. So Anthony said that after his wife confessed to murdering their kids, he went around to each of their bedrooms and wiped their faces off to quote unquote make them more comfortable. Anthony said that while he was doing this, Megan walked up to him and said that she did this because she had to release their souls. And in this letter, this is when Anthony goes on to say that Megan at this point went into their master bedroom, chugged the bottle of Benadryl, and then stabbed herself twice in the stomach. Now, the reason Anthony said that he didn't do anything or call 911 or call for help was because he couldn't find a phone. He just couldn't find a phone. He couldn't find a phone. Couldn't find a cell phone in 2020. Couldn't find a cell phone. He also said he didn't do anything because Megan begged him at that point to let her die. He said that she wanted to die and she was begging him to not call the authorities and to not call for help. And after Megan passed away, this is when Anthony said he took all of the bodies, the ones of his wife and his 3 children, brought them in to his master bedroom and covered them with blankets for warmth and protection in quotes, where they stayed for weeks until authorities discovered them. To me, there are a lot of inconsistencies in this letter and just a lot of things that don't make sense. First of all, again, how are you not finding a phone? How can you just lost your phone, you lost every phone in the house and you can't find a phone when your wife stabs herself twice and then drinks a bottle of Benadryl? What are you doing? Are you just sitting there staring at her? It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Also, in the letter, Anthony said that there was no sign of a struggle. However, 2 of his children suffered from stab wounds. So there was some bit of a struggle. Why did he move all of his children and his wife into the same bedroom together instead of calling the authorities right after this happened? And if authorities hadn't found the bodies when they did, how long would it have been until the remains would have been discovered? I do want to say though that Anthony has mentioned multiple times that this was not the first time that Megan had attempted to murder his family. He said back in March and April of this year while on phone calls with his sister that Megan had tried to murder his family before. He said, quote, there were multiple attempts, just so you know. Multiple attempts in the last over a time frame. There's been attempts, end quote. And this is where I draw the question of if there were ever attempts, ever attempts of your wife wanting to murder your family, murder your children, or just put your children in harm's way in any way, why was that not taken care of? Why was nothing done about that? I say this a lot. I'm not a parent and I'm really not trying to be the parent police because I know that that is a role that I will never understand until I become one. For the parents out there, I would love to hear your stance on this. If your husband or your wife or your partner attempted to murder your children and your family once or more than once, what are you doing? Are you not doing anything? Are you doing something? Are you calling the authorities? Are you trying to get them help? What would you do in that situation? So let's talk motive. The big motive that people have looked at here when looking at Anthony, if we're looking at this from the standpoint of Anthony being responsible here, is finances and money. Before the murders occurred in April of 2019, Anthony had actually been under investigation by the FBI because there were allegations that Anthony's physical therapy business was engaging in a health care fraud scheme that involved the submission of fraudulent claims for physical therapy sessions to the Connecticut Medicaid program. Anthony was actually accused of billing Medicaid for tens of thousands of dollars, billing them for appointments that never actually took place. So basically, to break that down, what was happening is Anthony was counting for all of these appointments and billing Medicaid for all of these appointments that never actually happened. So he was just billing Medicaid left and right for appointments that never occurred. Anthony was also in about $200,000 worth of debt at the time of the murders. And when he was arrested for the murders, Anthony admitted to the fraud for the Medicaid fraud scheme. However, he said that Megan knew absolutely nothing about it. Now, as of right now, Anthony is in custody awaiting trial, to which prosecutors have said they are looking to seek the death penalty on Anthony, who has pleaded not guilty. So even though he has confessed to this, Anthony has already confessed, he's claiming he's not guilty. And just to break this down for you, when Anthony got arrested in January, up until about June of this year, again, this all happened this year, from January to June, Anthony was the one responsible for this. Anthony said that he did it. Anthony was taking the blame for this. However, everything changed in June when Anthony sent that letter to his father claiming that it was actually Megan who committed the murders and not him, and that he was just taking the fall for it. So as of right now, Anthony is awaiting for trial and he is pleading not guilty for these murders. This is going to be a case I know me for sure I am going to keep my eye on as the trial begins and as this all continues to unfold. And I know that as it continues, a lot more information is going to come to the surface and a lot more details are going to come to the light. Personally, my opinion is that Anthony is 100% guilty. It does not make sense to me. There are just too many inconsistencies and just weird things in his story that don't make sense, and I understand that everyone grieves differently. Personally, I believe he did it. He already confessed to it, and I think he saw an out by claiming that Megan did it, because Megan's not here to defend herself. And who does this case remind you of? Do we have someone in mind? Because let me tell you, this case reminds me a hell of a lot of the Chris Watts case. We saw Chris do the exact same thing. His wife wasn't here to defend herself, so he blamed their children's death on her because she wasn't here to defend herself. And I personally believe 100% that is what Anthony is doing right now. His wife is not here to defend herself, so we're gonna say that she did it. I think Anthony was living a life of a lie, and I think it was catching up to him. I think that he tried to live a lavish lifestyle, one that he could not afford. And I think that shows in his $200,000 worth of debt. It shows in him trying and pretending that he was going to donate a bunch of money to all of these different foundations. However, it never ended up happening. I think that that is just a perfect example of how he tried to portray himself in a certain way, when in reality that was not the case. I think it all caught up with him, and I think he didn't know what to do. I think that he knew that he was getting tracked down by the FBI. I think he knew that this was all catching up to him and he didn't know what else to do. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And with that being said, you guys, that is going to be all for me today. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode here on my YouTube channel. I love you guys so much. I'll be back in a couple days with a brand new one. Bye guys.